Have you ever had that feeling where your own mind just seems like a wild animal? One minute it's calm, and the next it's just stampeding with thoughts you can't seem to control. Well, what if I told you an ancient story basically says, yep, you're right. It imagines the mind as a wild elephant. And get this, it says the secret to peace isn't about fighting it, but about, well, gently and skillfully taming it. Okay, let's get into this. But let's be real for a second. With our phones buzzing and a million things pulling at our attention, is that kind of deep, unshakable inner peace even possible anymore? Or is it just a nice idea, a fantasy from a time long ago? Turns out, this exact question was at the center of a really fascinating encounter thousands of years ago. So, our story starts with two people from completely different worlds, a prince and a novice monk. And their two worlds are about to collide over this one, seemingly impossible question. All right, so on one side, you've got Prince Jayasena. He is living the good life, completely surrounded by all the sensory pleasures that royalty can buy. And on the other side, we have Asiravata, a young novice who's walked away from all of that to focus on training his mind. And one day, the prince hears about the ultimate goal of Asiravata's practice, this state of perfect mental calm. The actual term for this is chitta sa ekagata. It literally translates to one-pointedness of the mind. Imagine a state of such deep focus and quiet that your mind becomes completely unified, totally still. It's basically the peak of mental training. The prince, he's curious, so he asks the novice to explain it. But after he hears the explanation, the prince just scoffs. He basically says, "No way, that's impossible," and just walks off. This leaves the young novice feeling pretty confused and down. So here's the real question. Why? Why couldn't the prince even begin to grasp what the novice was describing? So, looking for some answers, the novice Asiravata goes to his teacher, the Buddha. And the Buddha, he doesn't just give him a simple answer. He completely reframes the whole problem with this absolutely brilliant analogy. The Buddha explains that it has nothing to do with being smart. It's all about your point of view. He asks, how could Prince Jayasena, who's totally caught up in chasing pleasure, consumed by worldly stuff, how could he possibly understand a state of mind that's only reached by letting all of that go? His entire life, his entire position, makes him blind to it. And to make this crystal clear, he tells a simple story. He says, look, imagine a guy standing at the bottom of a mountain. He can't see the beautiful park on the other side, right? He might even argue that it doesn't exist. But someone who climbs all the way to the top, they can see it perfectly. The prince, well, he's like the man at the bottom, and his view is blocked by what the Buddha calls a great mass of ignorance. So, how in the world do you actually climb that mountain of ignorance? To explain that, the Buddha gives us his most powerful and famous metaphor, a really detailed step-by-step guide for taming a wild elephant. And this isn't just a cool story. It's a practical manual for training that wild heart that lives inside every single one of us. And the process itself is all about patience and skill. Just look at the progression. First, the elephant is separated from its wild habits. Then, it's anchored. But here's the key part. The trainer uses gentleness, not force. Soothing words and food are used to build trust. It's only after that trust is established that the real instruction begins, slowly leading it from a state of wild panic to one of perfect stillness and fearlessness. And what's the final result of all this patient work? The elephant becomes Rajaro. It's an animal so disciplined, so reliable, so majestic that it's actually considered worthy of serving a king. It has been completely transformed from this chaotic, unpredictable force of nature into a noble and trusted partner. Okay, so this is where the metaphor becomes a practical guide for us. The Buddha masterfully takes this entire taming process and applies it piece by piece to the training of the human mind. As you're about to see, every single step in the elephant's journey has a direct parallel in our own inner world. So, tying the elephant to a post, for us, that's the practice of mindfulness, specifically the 4 satipatthana, which are known as the foundations of mindfulness. These are the very anchors for our wandering thoughts. The gentle words and food, that's the nourishment we get from hearing wise teachings. The commands it learns, those are the ethical guidelines that bring order and discipline to our actions. And finally, the elephant mastering stillness. That corresponds to us attaining states of deep, blissful meditation, which are known as the jhanas. So why does any of this training actually matter? Well, the Buddha ends his explanation with a pretty stark look at the consequences.
He says that how we live and how we train our minds determines not just the quality of our life, but the very nature of our death.
He says that a person who hasn't trained their mind, an untamed person, dies an untamed death. And it doesn't matter if they're young or old. But a person who has done the work, who has tamed that inner elephant, they die a tamed death. Theirs is a passing that's marked by discipline, by clarity, and by peace. The point is, it's not about how long you live, but how tamed you are when your time comes.
And the value of a person like that, it goes way beyond just themselves. The Buddha says that a fully tamed person becomes worthy of the highest honor and respect. They become, in his own words, anuttaram punya khetam lokasa, which means an unsurpassed field of merit for the world. Their very presence becomes a source of goodness and inspiration for everyone around them.
So this ancient story leaves all of us with a really personal question. It asks us to look inside ourselves and get to know our own wild elephant. You know, our restless thoughts, our anxieties, all our untamed habits. And then it asks the most important question of all. How will you, with kindness and patience, begin the process of taming it?